Just a second. Hold on. You can't see me.
No.
Fuss with all this stuff, you know.
We can feel you.
I know, you got me. I got it. Okay, now I'm doing the video thing.
There you are.
All right.
Okay, hold it. How do I? Oh, that's good. Let's
Yeah.
move this. No, let's go like that a little bit. Okay, now do you? Yeah, all right. Okay. So now I'm not going to be able to see you guys because I took my glasses off. So you're going to have to gesticulate and be very broad.
That's how we usually are. So this will be perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
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 In fact, I sometimes just remove my contacts mid-session just to get that effect myself.
Oh, good. Well, I don't want to put my contacts in because they're daily contacts.
Yeah.
And this interview would cost me $1.50.
Right. Yes. These are the decisions you got to make when you're a daily contact lens wearer.
Are you a daily contact lens wearer?
I am. I switched to them maybe like 5 years ago, something like that, and I like them much better than the ones that were.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But as you say, you have to pick and choose who you wear them for.
You do. Like, are you worthy of my lenses?
No, I wasn't. Yeah. I don't know you guys really. So no, you weren't.
100%. And I think depending on how it goes today, you might decide this was so great. I want to come back on and I want to have my contacts in. Maybe.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
How about that?
Yeah. All right.
Mr. Barry Bostwick. I mean,
that's right.
I can't believe I'm saying that. Welcome to $2 late fee. We're not going to charge you $1.50. We're not going to charge you $2.
Well, was I late? I wasn't late, damn it. So you should pay me.
You weren't late. We should pay you for the contacts that you don't have in.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll wait. Yeah. I don't see it. Do I see a present underneath the tree with my name on it? No.
Venmo you. No, this is somebody else's house I'm in.
I told Dustin this looks like his background. For those that are listening, on Dustin's background, there is a Christmas theme, and it looks like something from a Hallmark movie or a Restoration Hardware catalog.
It's the horribly lit, I guess depending on how you interpret the lighting of these kinds of things, but it's very Christmassy. And
wait a minute, are you telling me that it's not real? Is it? It's a background. It's blue screen. No,
it's a green screen. Yeah,
I mean green screen. Is it really?
It is.
It's probably better. Not as good as your background in Megaforce, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. So basically, you're a liar.
I mean, if that's how we interpret, I'm just acting really like I'm in this house.
You have the voice of an actor, but if I would really love to know where you really are.
Yeah,
okay,
Dustin,
here, let me see if I can.
Are you in some dreary basement in Brooklyn?
Yeah, pretty much. They let me out every 5 minutes. I'm actually in Zak's basement, and he just feeds me 1 cup of Jello a day, and so I gotta make do.
He's in my son's room.
Oh, you're in the same environment.
No, we're not. We're actually just confusing things. No. I'm just in a room. There's a wall right behind me, and it's fine. There's just no depth of field. And I thought it's the holiday season. We're promoting. You're in a holiday movie right now.
I am. Basically.
That's what I'm told.
I actually the quarantine was longer than the actual shooting time for me.
I was going to ask. God. Yeah, single all the way, which is on Netflix right now, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
A gay rom-com, right?
That's what they say.
That's
how it was sold to Netflix, and that's how it's being sold to the public. And the public seems to be quite excited about it.
That's great.
And a lot of people are watching it, and I continue on the path of being an icon for the gay community. So I have to do one of these every year to keep my card up.
You got to get that punch, right? Yeah.
Keep your branding.
Yeah.
How was the movie sold to you?
It's the same way, and
Okay.
it was sold because Michael Urie was in it, and I love Michael Urie. I think he's a really charming guy, and I did a Ugly Betty with him a couple of them years ago, and he is. Well, I think he is an icon in that community in the New Yorkie area. I mean, he does a lot of theater, and he's a loved man, and I love him too. And so when they put that whole cast together, he was the first one I knew about, and then the ladies came on board, and they basically stole the movie from all of us.
You're talking about Kathy and Jimmy, and am I saying that name correctly? Kathy and Jimmy?
I have no idea. I never figured it out. I think is it Greek or something? Yeah, I think the Jimmy. I never called her by her last name, even though she played my wife in it. I never had anything to do with her.
Oh, well, fun fact, I taught her daughter. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, and I taught her.
You didn't know her name either.
No.
And the daughter's, what's the daughter's name?
I'm blanking now on the name. It's been so long. It's been over 15 years.
Okay. All right. But her daughter. Okay. From which marriage? How many marriages has? Oh, I don't want to get into this. I love her, but this is not her interview.
No, it's yours.
Yes. The point is that you both have worked with her, and neither of you know whether or not we're correctly pronouncing her last name.
No, I think it's Najimi.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
No, it's Najami.
Yeah.
Najami.
But you play you play Harold in the movie, and yeah, it's getting a lot of positive buzz right now. It's a holiday movie. I mean, we love holiday movies. There's a lot of good ones and a lot of terrible ones. This one does not fit the latter category. So, you just got this coming out, but you filmed it during the quarantine, or when did you film this?
No, we shot it in Montreal right when the quarantine was going on, and we had to quarantine ourselves for 2 weeks in an apartment or wherever anybody was, in a hotel or something, and we could, like a regular quarantine, we were by ourselves, alone in a room with a TV and a computer and a lot lot of porn.
I
don't know. Can we say these things? I don't know.
Yes,
we are not a PG podcast. We are very much
we welcome it.
Uncensored.
Okay. Well, that and there was a lot, because it was there was a lot of BBC, all that Canadian English stuff, and I was very hooked on I think it's called the Pottery Throwdown or Throwdown show.
Okay.
That because I'm a potter, and so I was hooked on this this show from England called I think it's called the Pottery Throwdown, and so I kept up on things like that, and I saw a lot of documentaries about China. I don't know why, other than the fact that they were very pretty, and I saw parts of China that I will never visit or ever really want to visit, but. That's the advantage of being stuck inside for 2 weeks. You see things and do things you wouldn't normally do.
That's very true. That's very true. I think in the past 2 years, this has been, a myriad of emotions for everybody. And I can imagine being stuck in, people on one hand go, oh yeah, but you're in a hotel and it's nice and blah, 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 but you're still stuck there. You can't go anywhere. That's got to be a little frustrating and tough.
Well, yeah, we couldn't even go out the front door. I was in an apartment, so that was okay. But I had a little balcony I would go out onto and look out over things. And they kept on saying to me, if you leave the apartment, they'll know and you'll jeopardize the entire production. So, oh God, I had in my back of my mind, that I was going to shut down this whole thing if somebody saw me, take the garbage out.
Yeah, it's a very real concern. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think that's for when everybody was working during that time. It was, it was a serious serious time. Luckily, nobody on our crew got sick.
That's great.
And we were tested every 3 days. And it's a miracle that nobody got sick, I think. The problem with Montreal at the time was not only were we stuck inside, and then we had to, there was also a curfew. So you had to be off the streets by 8 o'clock at night. And so there weren't any restaurants open or anything. So, oh, poor me.
Well, it's interesting you say that because first world problems. Yes.
Yeah.
However, it's still relevant. And I think we're allowed to express these feelings. We're human, these are things we're used to, we're accustomed to, and to have our lives completely thrown in for a loop, it affects us all.
Yeah, I guess, but we shouldn't talk about it because I sound like a crown prince or something.
No, you don't.
I'm not.
I want to know about your pottery. How long have you been a potter?
30 years or something like that. Yeah, I have my own studio, and here I live in Florida now, and I have a studio not in the house, but another place that I go to, and it's got the kilns and all that. And,
nice.
I had, when I was living in the Beverly Hills area or Malibu or those areas, I had a full workshop also. And I basically make things for myself to give away, some charity stuff. And I'm going to have my first art walk, what they call art walk, in Central Florida in the end of February, where people can come in and see my studio, and I'll explain to them why I'm not any better than I am after 30 years.
That's awesome, though.
You should be really good, and I'm not. I studied the Japanese ceramics. I had a teacher who was a Japanese ceramicist, potter, at UCLA way back when, and he didn't speak any English, so we were taught through an interpreter, and it was. And then he went back to Japan, and then one of his students started a studio in LA called MOA, and we stayed with the studio for 10 or 12 years until I moved away, and it was just a little too far for me. But so we studied the Japanese style pottery. We studied the tea ceremony. So I made a lot of tea ceremonial vessels and flower arranging and all this sort of Japanese crafts and
amazing
things. Yeah, and
nice.
And it all sort of blended together. And as I say, I should be better than I am, but it fills a big hole in my life right now, and always has, actually.
I was going to say, when I was in high school, my only saving grace from those 4 years that I dreaded going every day was going to my ceramics class. And in fact, my ceramics teacher and I became such good friends. He became a mentor to me in many ways. Like, instead of going out to snack or recess or whatever and having to interact with people I couldn't stand, I'd go into the pottery room and I just make stuff, and he didn't care what I made as long as I was, it was bringing me joy. So, I really respect that. Yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah. Well, the fascinating thing about ceramics or pottery, maybe any hobby, but particularly in ceramics, you never run out of possibilities.
Totally.
There's so many different clays and so many different glazes and so many different styles of making things that, after 30 years, I have gone through so many stages of shapes and forms and colors, and I until I die, I can never reach the bottom of that, pit.
That's fantastic. And hopefully that doesn't happen for a very long time.
The pottery pit.
It's a pottery pit where I throw all the crap that doesn't look good, and I'm one of those potters that has a hard time throwing anything out. So I've got basements filled with pots from 20 years ago that my kids, the minute I die, bang, into the trash.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So who cares? I mean, it's if it doesn't mean something to somebody else besides myself right now, it's gone. It's gone.
I tell you what, though, I'm sure you've got such a large fan base that you could easily put that out there and people will take whatever scraps you have.
Yeah, but yes, you're right. You're right. I'll just put it on the corner of the street, under Craigslist for free.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
I have to say, your role as Ace Hunter in Megaforce is pretty monumental to us, to the point that at the end of our show, we always play a tag that it's you giving your famous line, and it's really become the arc of our show in a way. It's like the nostalgia of the 80s, the good guys winning in the 80s. That's kind of what we do on our show. We want to bring positivity and joy to everybody, and through one of our favorite decades, the 80s, and Megaforce is a huge part of that.
We're making a documentary. We're about 2 years into it, of the making of Megaforce, and we call it the documentary that nobody was asking for.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and except for you guys apparently, and but it's a very interesting documentary. The guy who sort of runs the website, HQ, what is it, Megaforce HQ or something like that.
Okay.
Facebook page, and he was, like you're saying, he was affected by this movie when he was 12 years old, and he stayed with it his whole life. He's now the 40s, late 40s, and has collected 3 or 4 of the original motorcycles, the vehicles, the
Wow.
dune buggy vehicles,
wow.
everything. He's got my original helmet and my original motorcycle, and he is Bob Lindenmeyer is his name, and so I got together with him a couple of years ago to figure out how we would make this documentary. And it's really, and he's interviewed, and we both interviewed everybody who's still alive, I think, who was involved in this movie. And to a man or a woman, the first thing out of their mouth is, "Why the hell are you doing this?" And we figured out why we're doing it, and it's really about Bob Lindenmeyer, about his journey, and wanting to go back to that time in his life that was perfect, or
Yes.
that was clear, clean, and filled with, you knew who the bad guys were, you knew who the good guys were,
Right.
And he looks to me as an example of a good guy. And for the years now, I've tried to convince I'm really a jerk, and I'm really what they call me in Rocky Horror, an asshole. But he doesn't believe that. He still sees me as somebody he should look up to, and we've had a great time making it, because we shot about a month ago. We shot the end of it out in the desert somewhere in Oregon or something, and where we were on motorcycles, and we flew off into the sunset together. Oh, it was great. I mean, this isn't just, let's interview somebody. I mean, it's really like a buddy movie. So it's and it's very funny, and it's so I think we're gonna preview. I have a convention in January in Orlando, Villicon convention, like towards the end of January. I think we're going to preview the sizzle and the trailer, and maybe even show the movie and do like a riff track.
Yeah.
While it's going on. And so the 12 people at the convention will actually want to come see it.
Well,
is Villicon Villains? Is that no?
Villicon? I don't know. It's called Villicon something.
I mean, Orlando's a hotbed for conventions right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. It's and I've done so many of them. My is called let's see, Villicon Dreams versus Nightmares, to be held at the Doubletree Orlando
Wow.
sometime. Oh, 122 and 123.
Okay.
So that's so
up.
if you want to come out and see me, I will not be in my spandex, but I will be there.
Wow.
Will you have your contact lenses in?
I actually will wear them because
Okay.
for there, I want people to like me.
That's
and I care what they look like. And you are do you have a beard? You have a beard, right?
I got some
Dustin does.
I got some scruff.
Yeah.
I'm actually a 5'8" blonde woman with a really deep voice. So
oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
You were my first wife then.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I never get that pottery you told me you were going to give me. So
no.
Well, you bring
you
up,
got everything else from me, goddammit. Get the divorce.
So thank you and you're welcome. So you brought up a good point about the documentary. Why is this being made? There is a nostalgia on our show. We often say nostalgia is one hell of a drug because it takes you back to that place that you wish that you idealize, right?
Yeah.
If we really picked apart the 80s for a lot of people, they would say, well, it wasn't really the greatest decade in many ways. But you take those snapshot moments like a Polaroid photo or but if people still have photo albums and you go, wow, that was such a memorable time. And your movie, Megaforce, it has many dynamics to it where you go, oh man, that scene was bonkers crazy. This didn't go as planned probably, but there's something about the charm that you brought, the role that you have as Ace Hunter. It's like I was a huge Bee Gees fan back in the day, still kind of am. And I'm like, if I took Barry Gibb and Chuck Norris and put them together, I'd have Ace Hunter, and all my dreams would come true. And they did.
Yeah, you're right.
He's not lying.
I'm not lying.
That's so sweet. Well, I'm glad it was an important film and time for you. I had a 3-picture deal with them, and after the first movie came out and didn't make a nickel, it became a 1-movie deal. Yeah. So, but you know what? It was a really fun time. I mean, it was done. I thought it was done right, except for the script, of course.
Yeah.
We were writing that script on the way to the set every day. Well, what should I say today? Oh, how about deeds, not words, or how about the good guys always win? Oh, even in the 80s, yes, I'll say that. Or all the sort of funny lines we came up with on the day, but because all the focus was on the hardware, all the focus was on the stunts, because Hal Needham, who directed it, was just the best stunt guy in the world at the time, so he really focused on that, and we were sort of left to our own devices in terms of what the story or how to tell the story, other than a bunch of. I think the problem with the movie, and probably why a lot of people but still like it, is that it was never, it was always a very clean war movie. Nobody died. If you were shot, you rolled around for a little while and got up and ran away. There wasn't any blood. There was nothing cut off. There was nothing. It was just it was like a big, at the time they didn't have them, but like a big video game with vehicles flying and motorcycles flying and people dressed up in cool costumes and one pretty girl.
It was G.I. Joe.
You always got to have one pretty girl.
You always got to have one pretty girl.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say it was G.I. Joe before G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I think it probably was. Yeah, it was. And if you have any of the original toys or little vehicles or anything, hold on to them and put them on eBay, and I'll buy them, because there's so few of them out there right now.
Zach, how many do you have?
I used to have the entire lineup, but it's a sad story. I don't have them anymore.
What'd you do?
I moved around about 10 times as a kid. So,
and lost them? Or
well,
just...
no, Dustin knows this story. I would come home one day from school. My parents would have a big dumpster out front and they'd be throwing my toys in the dumpster. And I go, what are you doing? And my stepdad would go, well, you don't play with them anymore and we're moving. I'm like, oh, okay. So it became a sad story.
So if we could go back in time and you could tell your stepdad, wait, Barry Bostwick would like to buy these in the future.
Yeah.
It would be different.
Say, well, make sure you get a glazed bowl from him.
Oh yeah. Oh, sure. I'll give you a bowl for a motorcycle. I mean, there's still those vehicles out there in people's backyards, you know.
Oh yeah, it's
fact,
wild.
We're looking at one. I mean, there's one here in Florida that Bob, who I just mentioned, is doing this with me, is coming in to look at in Vero Beach. You know, it's just sitting collecting weeds in somebody's backyard because they got it in a trade for some real estate deal, you know. And the big TACCOM, the big vehicle that Hal Needham was in doing all the running of it. That's sitting in a ditch somewhere in Canada that I think we're going to go up and try to dig out and see if the guy will sell it to us. And those things are all, you know, we document all of that kind of stuff in the movie. So it's, you see the search, you know, you see I don't know, it's just the love of that time and those things that meant something to us and to Bob at the time, and obviously to you too. And I'm sorry for your loss.
Well, I look back on it and I can laugh now, but you know, Dustin and I often talk about
when you know how much they're worth, you would not be laughing.
Oh yeah, no, I trust me.
Your life would be so much different. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, really. God, you've just depressed the hell out of me.
Welcome to Depressed Barry
Toys that thrown away.
What is that movie to you though? Like, so obviously, you know, this documentary is being made for the love that the fans have, but what is it about it that keeps you still connected to it?
Well, you know, it's interesting in that I think the documentaries is sort of being billed as one man searching for the 80's and one man trying to remember them. And I would be the one who's trying to remember the 80's and this whole production. And by being with Bob, he has, you know, clicked in a lot of memories about it. And then the next day after we've talked about it, I have forgotten them again. What does it mean to me? Just sort of it was just another thing on the road to experience. I think it was wonderful to be first on the call sheet, you know, which is always good if you're an actor. And we were treated very well, and it was a lot of fun to make, if I remember it correctly. And I was sort of a brash, cocky young guy when I made it, and I think I have calmed down a bit. But that's sort of what's sort of fun about it is I had just finished a production of Pirates of Penzance in LA. And that's how they found me, because I was playing the Pirate King with the headband and the whole thing and swashbuckling this and that. And Hal's wife was there at a matinee. And at some point in the show, I take my headband off and I throw it into the audience, try to hit the prettiest girl I could find. And she got it, the wife. And she went home to Hal and said to him, I have found the guy, you know, who should be playing Ace Hunter. And amazing. So that's how you get work these days, is you flirt with the wives of the director. Apparently.
That's what I'm doing wrong in this business, I guess.
Yeah.
Not enough wife flirting.
Yeah. Well, that was the story on that. And wild. Then when it came out, I was just totally unaware of it. I think was doing other things or something. I never hang around once things are being released. It was the same thing with Rocky Horror. I had no idea that it was a flop, and it took years for me to figure out that it was actually being rediscovered in the midnight movies, and then I went and saw it, and I thought, oh, I get it, I understand what they're doing, and but I never saw it when it first came out, so I was busy doing something on stage or something. I don't know what I was doing.
Was Megaforce always intended to be a comedy, or did it have a serious tone originally, or?
No, it was always intended to be a G.I. Joe kind of thing, and that's and that was Hal's Needham's thoughts on it. He wanted something good guy, bad guy, very clear, because it was really made in the time of anti-heroes, right? I mean, there was, if you look at what else was coming out that year, we were a little behind the time, or behind the times. We were more of a 70s kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Things were really changing in movies during that time, and it was grittier, dirtier. We were, probably for all the reason you liked it. Every 12-year-old boy or girl who saw it at the time loved it, because they could go home and dress up their bikes and pretend they were in this, in this group.
Lasers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And those rockets that we had that we shot off the front of the motorcycles, they went everywhere. I'm lucky I didn't get skewered in the back of the head.
Oh my God.
Safety was not on the menu when it comes to making Megaforce, but
Hal Needham has that reputation. I mean, if you go down the list of his movies that he's done, from Rad and Hooper and Smoking the Bandit, et cetera, it's a reputation of wild sets and risk taking for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, he went out and he got onto one of those. I think he was in one of those little go-karty things. And flipped it out in the desert and broke his leg. And
oh gosh,
we could never stop saying, "Oh, Hal Needham hurt himself," in one of his vehicles. But I don't ever remember having a conversation with him about acting. And I've talked to Michael Beck, who was also in it.
Yep.
And he doesn't remember him ever talking to us about acting or any of that. He was really focused on the action, But no, it's a lovely thing to have in your background and to not be totally ashamed of.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it at all. My wife's never seen it, but that's because I don't know. She doesn't see my work. I don't let her see things like that. She'd like to see it, I think, but I think that the story behind it and what it's meant to people is more important in ways than the movie itself. So yes. I don't want to ruin her image of me as being a hero.
Well, I don't think she has. Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say, I would imagine now that you're making a documentary on this movie, I would think she would be somewhat curious to know what documentary you're making it on. And she will be. She will be. And I'll eventually let her see it. And she's seen the sizzle reel and she loves it. It's very funny. And so, yeah. But she hates Rocky Horror too. So really? I think I took her to that once. Oh, yeah.
Well, wow. I was really quickly going to ask you your relationship with Michael Beck on set. Did you, because you guys are like, you're buddy in the movie. Did you?
Zach loves Michael Beck. Loves Michael Beck. The Warriors is his favorite movie.
No kidding. No, but he just said Megaforce was his favorite movie.
No,
he's a whore. Basically, You're a whore. You'll say anything to anybody who's on the other side of the camera.
Decade by decade. The 70s is the Warriors. 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Megaforce.
Thanks
Yeah,
for saving
well,
me.
Michael's the sweetest man in the world. I had no relationship with them past making of the movie until a few years ago. Michael and I ended up at a convention or something together, and he was there for the Warriors and I was there for Rocky, and we ended up doing a panel together for talking about this Megaforce thing, and
Nice.
it was a lot of fun. And so we will do some other events. Hopefully, he's in the movie, in the documentary, and yeah, and he's like the rest of it. He's just keeps going on and on and on.
That's great. That's great. Well, you're a part of two cult, sincerely, really deeply rooted cult films. Obviously, Megaforce being the one that's near and dear to our hearts, but Rocky Horror as well. That's pretty phenomenal. Sometimes people maybe get one of those movies that people talk about 30, 40 years later, but here you got at least two, that's a big deal.
Yeah. And, but I always try to refer to the biggest deal in terms of all of that was when I created the part in Danny Zuko in Grease on Broadway back in 1971.
Wow. Nice.
And then Travolta played the part in the movie.
Yep.
Because it's sort of, for me, it's sort of like that was also, it ended up being, culturally, I think, interesting and influential in a way, because it was the first show that really explored the 50s and the 50s music in a popular way. And I must say that Megaforce is not brought up in a lot of circles, except this one. People don't say, "Oh, you were in Megaforce," but actually, I do get that when I go to Lowe's or I go to Home Depot. People will come up and say, "I loved you in Megaforce."
Well, I'm gonna share something with you that I've actually never shared. I might have told Dustin. We don't do it anymore because we're just at a different place emotionally, but when my son is now 7, when he was going to kindergarten for the first time, and we talked about, like, look, if you get separated, and if we were at a park or something, or at a store and you're gone and I can't find you, someone comes up to you, we have to have a secret signal. And our secret signal was the thumb kiss. I said, if someone does the thumb kiss to you, that means you can trust them.
No kidding.
Did I ever tell you that?
That means they should have meant that they had to have seen the movie.
Exactly. Well, he watched it with me when he was about 4 years old, and he loved it. But
the thing is, if a stranger comes up to him and doesn't do this, right?
Yep.
He runs away.
He runs away.
Exactly. Yep.
But does he say to you? I mean, does he say, "What's the sign?" Or
yeah, so he would, if someone come up to me, they would say, he would say, "What's our secret signal?"
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yep.
And but he never had to use it.
And fortunately, he never had to use it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good.
But he was saying that, our tagline together, I'd say, "Hey, Bodie," his name's Bodie. I'd say, "Hey, Bodie, the good guys always win." And he'd say, "Even in the 80s, Daddy, even in the 80s.
That's great.
Yeah. So
that's wonderful.
Megaforce lives on, and I make these notes to my son. I've made over 800 at this point. No joke, like school notes, right? And Ace Hunter has come up quite a few times in our notes as like they're little motivational notes, have a great day, blah, blah, blah. And I draw a little sketch, and Ace Hunter is always popping up in there with
That's funny. You know what I found out just recently is that my Bostwick, my heritage, my, what do you call it? Coat of arms.
Yes.
Because we're English, go back English, like probably almost not everybody, but we did. There's a coat of arms and there's usually an image of something. Our image is a bear's head on a stump or something, but it has in Latin, deeds, not words.
No way.
No, it's true. It's amazing. Deeds, not,
awesome.
It actually says deeds, not words. Not something that is like deeds, not words. It actually says deeds, not words. Man,
And that
That's
is the
beautiful.
slogan from the movie for those that might not.
Oh
be
yeah,
familiar.
yeah, no,
And
yeah, that's
it's a huge deal.
Well,
It
we
is a
need that
huge
more
deal.
now than ever, don't you think?
Deeds, not words.
Yeah, I think,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, as cheesy as the movie is, as silly as it is, whatever you want to say, that underlying message, there's actually a lot of heart there. And
Oh, yeah.
especially with young people, that they take this idea, because I told my son, I'm like, look, do you know what that means? And I've explained it to him. Actions, right? What you do. You can say you're sorry up and down a million times, but if you're not showing, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Beautiful thing.
That you were much wiser than me when it comes to that. I thank you. I mean, that's. I mean, I understand what it means, but I don't know if I've been able to accomplish that in my life. I mean, as an actor, you deal with words, you know, and
Yep.
So my life is centered around dialogue and trying to be funny or trying to, you know, impress people. And I haven't done a lot of social work or service work in my life. And I think that's the one thing that when I go to heaven, you know, whoever's going to be up there asking questions, they're going to say, yeah, but you know, you never volunteered at that soup kitchen in downtown LA. You know, I never did, and that's those kind of deeds I have neglected in my life.
I don't know. I think you can show, I think you can make an impact on the world simply by what you're doing. You're bringing joy to people's lives. That's something that should not be taken for granted.
Well, that's what I've always said. You know, I'm to my life. I mean, that was always my goal, as to become an actor and to just entertain people, get them away from their lives, you know, and to get into some kind of a fantasy world for a few minutes, and if I can make them laugh in some way and bring that kind of joy. I think that's my goal this time around, it's and not, unfortunately, it's not necessarily, you know, serving turkey on Christmas to the homeless. I wish it could be both, but it's not. You know, it's not.
It could be at any time if you wanted, if you really wanted. But I to your point, I think you're helping people in many, many ways. It's not just as black and white as serving turkey on Christmas and to the homeless. You know, like you're helping people every day. And
well, I don't know, but you know, but there's some selfishness about it, because I'm also helping myself. You know, I mean, it's also I do things. You know, my kids come first. I've got two kids in college. One of them is at Cambridge, and one of them is at Colorado State, and they're both
Nice.
Very smart and into sciences and physics and math, and they're not at all like me or my wife. And I just got off the phone with my son right before we were talking here, and he was in the south of France skiing with Cambridge has a yearly trip, I guess, to the Alps or the south of France.
Oh,
and
terrible.
And I was saying, oh, what, poor you know.
Golly.
Oh God. And he goes, then we have to take a bus back to Cambridge from wherever they are, and it's 35 hours, you know. And
That's a long time.
That's a long bus.
That's a long time on a bus, you know.
Yeah.
Even though if you're with people who, you know, entertain you, or you know, you've been skiing with for 7 days, you know. But then I said, well, what are you going to do for Christmas? We were going to go over for Christmas and see him, my wife and I and our daughter, and that just got so difficult with all the COVID stuff. And and I said, well, what are you going to do for Christmas? And he says, well, I think I'll go to Switzerland skiing. I go, Jesus.
Get back on the bus.
Yeah, get back on the bus and start acting like a student, for Christ's sake, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the whole point, was that I'm self-serving, you know, and by becoming an actor and doing what I do, you know, the money comes in and then it goes out to them, you know, in a way, you know. And I don't live a lavish lifestyle. I'm living in Florida. We have a nice little house and a pool, and the mother-in-law lives 5 houses down the block.
Oh, wow.
Because that's why we're here, is to sort of help take care of her.
Nice.
And to escape the fires in LA.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So
there's something beautiful about that. I think there's something to be, you're not patting yourself on the back or saying toot toot or whatever, but you're the idea, you got kids, you want to make sure that this future generation is going to be semi-decent, and make an impact on the world too. There's a big piece to that. I think maybe sometimes people spend too much time going out into the world to do positive things and not remembering that, or forgetting that their kids, if they have any, are need to be groomed as well, need to be cultivated,
right.
and need to be, because that's going to have a huge impact too. You got your kids there, and hopefully they got a good head on their shoulders, and I mean, that's something to be proud of.
Well, thank you. That's what I say to my wife all the time. I say,
you should be.
She goes, but I haven't had a career. And I said, that is your career. You've got 2 very smart children in college, and they wouldn't be there, if it wasn't for her and her grooming and her caring and her sending them to the right schools at the right time, and whatever.
I'll tell you what, we have a slightly flipped script on our end, where I'm the one who's with my son primarily, and my wife is working full time at her job, and so there are times, ego wise, where I have to check myself, and you run into that stereotype, the man goes out in the world and is a breadwinner, right? All that bullshit. But that is a career. Your wife that is a career. That is a job. And it's something that needs to be respected and put on a pedestal just as much as the person who's a CEO at some business, or a guy who's got a 5-picture deal with Paramount,
Yeah. Right.
If even that's a thing anymore, 5-picture deal at Paramount.
It might be if you're Tom Cruise, but
I want to bring it back to Megaforce really quick.
Why do you want to? You're an obsessive person.
You were already past it.
I don't want to taint the documentary that's coming out and take anything away from that, because obviously that we want people to eventually go see that when it comes out. But is there like a funny story or one thing that stands out, where like a little tease of like, oh, this is a really great moment?
Oh, that's how teases work. You tease the doc so people go see the doc.
Yeah. You're out of focus. Why are you out of focus?
Me?
No.
I'm out of focus?
Yeah.
It could be that you don't have your contacts in.
Oh, wait a minute. You're absolutely right.
Dustin's filter.
Let me just see. Oh my God. You are. You're in focus.
Okay.
Come a little closer. Now you're even more in focus.
Barry,
funny story. All I know, there's one clip in this documentary where he is Bob, this guy who's making it with me. He's been repairing and restoring these vehicles with the rockets and stuff.
Yeah.
And he decided at one point in his front yard that he should shoot the rockets off.
Oh boy.
And he to test them out. And one of them went over into a neighbor's yard, and he's never been able to find it. And the other one blasted right through his garage door. And it's hysterical. It's just, people, they're trying to do everything so right. Yeah. And then when things go wrong, that's just so funny to me, and, there's so whole much of that stuff in this documentary that the documentary that nobody was asking for.
Is that going to be the title, the official title to it?
No, I think, but that'll be the tagline,
Okay.
No, I think the tagline is one man trying to relive the 80s and the other man trying to remember them.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's great. I would love to touch on Spin City real quickly, because that's obviously a huge, our audience, as much as they love the 80s, they love you as the mayor in Spin City. And I just was kind of curious, like, if because that was a very pivotal role for you, and you were working with Michael J. Fox. I just wanted to get a quick touch on it. How you felt working on that show.
Well, that was one of those shows that it was 6 years, and 4 years with Mike and 2 years with Charlie Sheen. And we all thought that when Mike finally, came out that he was ill, we all thought, well, it was over, but Mike is so smart, and Gary David Goldberg, who was the other producer on it at the time, was so smart that they figured out how to bring somebody else in with a whole backstory that was in some way as interesting as Mike's, and you could play off of Charlie's backstory and have that be the character's backstory. Well, Mike was our executive producer also, so he was responsible for not only being Mike and being the character, but also for making sure that the scripts worked and on a daily basis. So I didn't have the same way of working as he does. He's one of these guys that can memorize a page of dialogue in 1 minute. He just looks at it, bang, and he's got it.
Wow.
I have to rehearse, because I came from the theater. I have to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and try to come up with things that I think are funny or that work. And I'm not as comfortable with the improv part, but he was just spot on with all that. So it took us a while to figure out how we would work together as a team, and I think after the year or so, when we realized the cast and myself weren't going to get fired after every show that we didn't get a big laugh on, because Mike was possibly making the judgment also. I think we settled in by the end of the second season and really trusted each other. And I mean, as I think you're saying, is that it was a good show, and it had a lot of depth in terms of its characters. Every character was so clearly defined. There wasn't a lot of overlap. Some of them were very cliched and this and that, but they could be written to on a weekly basis. You could give an A story to any one of those characters, and they did over the years. Mike didn't have to always be the one that was focused on, and I think that that was a lot of the success of that show was the way Mike cast it originally, and also he kept changing the women in it. The women came and went, and he always, had in the show had the prettiest, the brightest, and the most famous women to nudge around. And
That's right.
I got Farrah Fawcett for 3 or 4 episodes. And which wasn't bad, but he got all the skirt.
Well, thank you. That was.
I'm gonna think of that.
I said nothing. I said nothing that you couldn't have guessed on your own. Other than the fact that when Charlie came in, I think the whole thing settled down a little bit, because we weren't, worried and always figuring out why were we being delayed and shooting on a Friday night. And then we found out that, Mike's medication hadn't kicked in. And so he just couldn't do what he was doing without it showing until everything was, calmed down. And, but with Charlie just slipped right in as another part of the team. And this was before 2.5 Men. And I think he learned a lot from all of us on how to do that genre. And because Mike was still involved as a creator of it, they were wise enough to, as I say, use his background, Charlie's background, and ease him into the process. And I thought that he was really positive for the show, and I thought we should have gotten another year or 2 out of it. I think we could have done that, but politics of television are way beyond my ken. They, the owners of it, and how much they were getting and how much it was costing them. And, when you start putting in salaries for Mike Fox or Charlie Sheen and or Heather Locklear, these people were making a lot of money, and we weren't making a lot of money in terms of television money, but I think that their overhead was pretty high with those guys. And but we've stayed very close.
Oh, that's great.
And it was one of those. My daughter Chelsea, we were living in Chelsea in New York City, and we were actually making the show on Chelsea Piers, and so what did we do? We named her Chelsea.
Nice.
And so that was so it was so many of us at the time had new babies or young children, and Mike had twins, and we were all just sort of it was a very important part of all of our lives.
I love that.
Was it a tough, what do you prefer more, television or films, the process?
No, it's the same process to me. I mean, television goes faster, and I'm much more comfortable with not really improvising, but just being spontaneous. And I like television because you get in and out quickly, and and you have to do a lot of pre-thinking and pre-thought to know what your form is, and then you just play within that. And then I don't like to do more than 3 or 4 takes, because after that I start getting real busy and finding things that just entertain me and perhaps not the audience. I mean, that's what we were doing in Greece way back when. After the first month or two, so many of us in the show, we would all of a sudden be coming into the park scene with undersea masks and flippers, and we just started anything that we wanted to do that entertained us. And then the director Tom Moore would come back every month and go, just cut that shit out, all right? You don't need it. It's not the show. The show is solid. The show is what do they call it? Frozen. The show is frozen. But for us, we were young, and we just wanted to do whatever entertained us.
Why is Danny Zuko wearing a snorkel inside the school?
It did. I actually came out with this snorkel and fins on for the park scene at the end of Act 1, and that didn't go over very well. But the one that really would come up with the craziest things was Jeff Conaway. If you know who Jeff Conaway was.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Jeff was my understudy for a while, and he would come in, and he was understudying other people in it too, and he would come out, and he would always come up with something like the flippers and the this and the that, and he was a great guy. It's a shame.
It is a shame. How long did that run? How long were you on Broadway with Grease?
I think I was on Broadway. Well, it became the longest running show on Broadway for many years, and then Chorus Line became it after that, and then other things overtook it. But I think between the Broadway show and then I did the first national tour in LA and Chicago for a number of months, a couple of years maybe.
Wow.
It was a hard show to do. I mean, took a lot of energy, and unfortunately we were all smoking at the time, like everybody was.
70s.
So, you'd get about a month into some run somewhere, and you'd realize that you didn't have a falsetto anymore,
No.
And if you don't have a falsetto and you're singing 50s music, you might as well go home.
Right. Barry, you are a national treasure.
Oh, God.
Sincerely, we're not joking. Like, to have you on is huge for us. I cannot express it enough. Having you on our show is a really big deal, and thank you for being on our show.
Thank you. I'm so, you guys, you're not like fans. You're like, well, I mean, fans are fans, but you're not like ooh, God, it's Barry. You know, it's like you really, what am I trying to say?
We know what you're trying to. We get it a lot.
Do you really? What you're bright, and I don't know why you're doing this. You should be doing more with your lives, for Christ's sake.
Oh, we are. Trust us, we are.
All right.
And
like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. And everyone can go to barrybostwick.com. They can get your underwear. They can get some other stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I'm making Rocky Horror clocks. I make these clocks.
Yes.
Of all these different kinds of clocks with Rocky Horror stuff on it, and actually a few Megaforce ones too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's, and I make jewelry. I just make anything that comes to my mind, and then I'm a peddler. I've always peddled things. You know, actors peddle themselves.
Yeah.
And I remember as a child, I would take stuff out of my garage and go door to door and just try to sell it. I was always peddling something. So now I'm peddling whatever I make. The only thing I don't peddle is my pottery, which I probably should, but I don't know how to ship it. It's too difficult.
That's the kicker.
thing.
Yeah. So that's a
but
tricky
underwear
thing.
I can ship.
Yeah, that doesn't break.
Right.
No,
Unless
no,
it's
it
brittle.
doesn't break. And I've got a selection of posters and artwork that people have done over the years from Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I basically have bought one of them from them, some guy in Australia or whatever, and then I reproduce it and then sell it. And I don't give them anything other than my buying the original one, because I figure after 45 or 47 years, people have made a lot of money off of all of the images of Rocky Horror Picture Show. And we never made anything on any of that stuff, you know.
That's horrible.
It's just horrible. So I'm
ridiculous.
Stealing it from everybody else now.
As you should.
Well, I'm going to. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barry.
Perfect timing. Yeah. Thank you.
All right,
and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
You got to have the cheesy smile also.
Oh yeah. Where's the cheesy smile?
Come on.